doing, Wolf Branch Homestead. We finally got this set up right. I'm gonna move our trash can a little bit closer here. Gonna try to get our live stream pulled up. I'm not wanting to pull up here on YouTube yet. Hope everybody's doing all right. We're gonna do a quick live stream making some pine needle hand brooms. We didn't have any questions about how to make any of these prior to this video, but if you have any questions while we're going, just feel free to put those in the chat or put them in the comments afterwards if you're interested in learning some more about these. And we've got some other videos and live streams too, not set up too fancy. We've just got some pine straw I raked up a little bit ago, and we're going to sort this out. That's going to be the first step, is getting all this pine straw sorted, and then we'll go from there. I've got it propped up. I'm sorry, we've got a little piece of tape here to prop up the leg of the tripod. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull out pieces of pine straw just like this. What we want is to have, I believe it's called the fascicle sheath. You want this piece on the end here of your pine straw. That's what's going to hold all your needles together. We want these to be long enough where we can hold it in our hand comfortably once we get them wrapped. We don't want these pieces to be too short, so we're not going to keep any short pieces in here as we sort through them. Some of these are a little green still, and that's okay. As it dries out, we can redo the wrapping. So this is a great craft idea, especially for the fall. Lots of leaves and pine straw falling everywhere. And so this is a great idea for fall, Thanksgiving, Christmas. You can make these with green pine needles, and they're a really neat, fragrant display piece for the holidays. I like making them out of the dried pine needles because there's not going to be any shrinkage like there is when you use the green ones. And so they'll be ready to use. You can use these that are already dried and use them to clean up small messes. I like to keep one by where we make our coffee at. So whenever you spill a little bit of coffee grounds, you can use this. So this started out as a project quite a few holiday seasons back. I wanted to decorate for the holidays with natural materials, and I thought about making a hand broom. And using all of that pine straw out there on the ground was a good idea. So I figured out how to make these. And again, you can use the dried ones for sweeping up small messes. People use them for sweeping up bird seed. Again, keep them near their coffee pot. Spill a little bit of coffee. And we've even had people use these to paint with, to add texture to paintings, which is a really neat idea. We haven't tried it ourselves yet. But people that order them off Etsy, that's what they'll do, is they might display them, paint with them. So we're just going really slow right now than we normally would if we weren't trying to explain everything. So I'm avoiding pieces like this that are bent. I'm avoiding really short pieces. And again, like we talked about in the beginning, we want to make sure that we have this piece right here on the end to help hold them all together. Our wrapping is going to do that, but this helps it stay together a lot better. And I gathered a lot more than I thought I would need just to be safe, so we can pick through there and make sure we get some of the better pieces. I'm trying to go through some of the YouTube audio library here. Pick some songs out. So if you hear the music, that's all that is there. But we've got a few videos about this. And if you watch through those and you get the hang of it and you feel like trying it, it's a great gift idea if you're looking for something handmade to make for the holidays. We do that pretty often. I'll make some for the holidays and give them to folks, and that's probably what we'll do with some of these, is actually give them out for Christmas. Now see, here's a piece that's a little bit too small. If you look at it in relation to the other ones, this is too small to use. That's why when it comes to picking out what pine needles you're going to use for this, you want to make sure that you have them long enough. Most of our pine trees are going to be loblolly. Virginia pine would have needles that are much too short. Knowing what kinds you have. We've almost got enough here. So again, we'll probably just make one, just to kind of show you all before we go out here and get some of our chores finished up. you want to keep in the theme of having a natural gift, kind of using things that can pretty much just go back to the land. You can use natural jute twine or cotton thread to wrap these up with. We've used yarn before, and you can get some really pretty colors and some neat themes that way, but we're going to be using a cotton twine to get this one fixed up. Now, if you want a much easier time getting your needles gathered, this is just raked up right here. This is raked up after we had some storms and some wind. But if you ever see a whole branch on the ground, or if you know anybody that's had a pine tree cut down, you can pull them off the branch in a clump very easily. They're already going the way that they're supposed to when you pull them off, and it's so much easier to make them that way by pulling off the clumps directly off the branch. We'll get a few more pieces added in here, and then we'll get ready to wrap this. That'll be our next step, is getting these bundled together and packed down, and then we'll get it wrapped. I'm going to take some of these pieces like this and sort through there and pluck those off. So it's a comfortable bundle to hold in the hand right here, so I think I'm satisfied with what I've got so far. What we're going to do is we're going to pack this down. We're going to pack the needles down all in a group and get the ends really evened out. You can use the palm of your hand to pack those down there. Okay. So now that we've got those pretty much packed down, we're going to set that down for a moment. We'll redo that once we get our yarn cut here. Or twine, rather. We've got cotton twine. I'm going to cut quite a good length of it here. Some of our other videos, I think we talk about how much length I cut off. This we're going to need a lot more though, because it's so thin. If you're using a very thick jute twine, you won't need too much. But what we're going to do is we've got one end of this, and we're going to take and make basically a little slip. So I got this piece, bring it under. You're going to make a knot around itself, and then this piece is going to slide and tighten as we go. So we're going to take this loop, set this aside for a minute. We're going to get these repacked, get it all evened out. We want the bottom to be even. All this up here we're going to actually trim off to an even length, but we want the bottom down here to be even. Now we've got that pretty well packed down. Just sorting through any last little pieces that look kind of out of line or messed up. We're going to take that little slip that we've got and put that right over the end. And because as you pull, it'll tighten up, watch this right here. It tightens up on its own as you pull away. Now sometimes this end will try to come and untighten itself. But we can redo that there. So when we get it pretty well tightened, we're gonna get it all the way to the end there, as far as we can go, and then get it really cinched up as tight as we can. And once we do that, whatever way we're pulling to tighten it, we're gonna start wrapping that way. You can always take that little end there and tuck that down and hide it as you wrap. Look for some other music here. Okay, make sure we've got this back down. So again, we're taking and going and wrapping that one direction. Holding the bundle pretty tightly while we do that. Once we get a few rows wrapped around, take and do this right here. Pull back on it and it'll tighten up all of that twine that you've got. The good part about this is if you use the green needles, you can go back and rewrap it and tighten it up if you need to. But once you're done with your broom, it's dried out, you've used it, and the needles are kind of wearing down, you can take that twine off of there and reuse it for a different project. Now I didn't use too much cotton twine on this because we're going to make it kind of different than we normally do. We're going to make this one more frayed out, so if you wanted to use it for texture painting, you can. Normally we'll make them where my whole hand has a wrap up to here, but we're going to do it shorter than that. So what I'm going to do is I've got this wrapped around here. We're just going to bring it around, tuck that under. Before we tighten it, we'll tie a knot like this. Can't quite show it, I'm sorry. Let's try it again. We'll get it tucked under there. And then tied back into itself. Now before we tighten that part, we'll tighten the other. And that way, once we tighten all that, when we pull this one tight, it cinches it. Hopefully that makes sense there. Hopefully it showed it all right on the camera. And we'll trim that little excess piece off. So when you use these for painting texture, that's why we made this one a little bit shorter. Depending on how far up you wrap it, will determine how closely together clustered your pine needles are. You can see how close together it is down here, but how it frays out. So if you wrap all the way up to where you trim it, The needles will be all pretty close together. But we wanted it frayed out like this, where you can kind of have a lot to work with if you wanted to paint with it. So we're going to try to see where the best point is to trim these off. I'll probably trim it about right here. If you trim them over a little trash can, that'll help you out from making too much of a mess. But that's kind of the rough look at it. Now when you're trimming it, you can do like this and take it and kind of spread out in a flat pinch like this, and that'll help you get a straight line with all your needles. I'll show you trimming it up down here. You just do that a few times, rotate it around. If you've got some pieces sticking out too far like this, you can just trim those off if you need to. But this is just showing you how when you don't wrap it all the way up, where it spreads out like this and you've got a much broader surface to do textured painting with, versus if you take this and you wrap almost up to the top of where your needles are, they're going to be clustered more. They're going to be a round cluster like this. So if your wrapping was all the way up to here, it would be a tighter grouping like this. So if you want to do painting with a texture like this versus having it wrapped about halfway down, your cluster is more open like that. Hopefully that makes sense. And because this is dried, we can use this one. Get some of that mess out of the way. You don't want to take your green needles. Let's see here. You don't want to take green needles and try to use those, because when you trim the ends off, you have kind of a sticky, like resin that's actually still in the needles, and it'll stick to everything. Now, when you trim them, the benefit of that is it makes them smell really, really nice when they're green. So you trim your green needles and then you just put it out as a display piece, and it smells really fragrant as they dry. The green ones are really good right around Christmas time. It can smell really nice, and as they dry, you can rewrap them and tighten the wrapping on it. And then when they're fully dry, you can use them. You want to give them another trim once the green ones turn dry to get those kind of resiny ends off of there. Then it'll be ready to use. One safety tip, though, is make sure to keep them out of the way where pets or children can get to them. Keep them away from any kind of heat source. So just keep them in a safe place. But check back with us. I do still have some ideas on how to paint with these. I haven't personally done it yet, but a lot of people that have ordered from Etsy have told us about using them to paint. And I think that's pretty neat. But again, just a neat little craft to go outside and gather some pine straw and make your own little broom. And if you're not able to yourself, we do have them on Etsy. You can look up our shop there, Wolf Branch Art. And we have some of them available. We don't have any green ones right now, but we've got some dried ones available. But we're going to call this an evening and go get the rest of these chores finished up, get the animals taken care of. But stay tuned with us. Check back with us again in the future. And we might do another stream where we make quite a few of these. Again, you can see some previous videos, some previous live streams of how to make these, seeing different styles. Again, you can use cotton twine, jute twine, yarn. If you really felt inclined, you had the patience for it, and you had the ability to, you could even probably take and make some cordage and wrap these with it. But we thank you all for joining us. Just kind of a quiet, simple stream. Nothing fancy here. Just showing you how we make one of these. And again, we'll do some other streams with them where we make different style wrappings, different lengths. Again, I like to make them where my whole hand is on the wrapping part. But you know, if you want to paint with these, just experiment with how far you bring that wrapping down. And again, just a cool little piece, display or functional. But we hope you enjoyed. Hopefully you'll get a chance to try making one for yourself. Maybe making some as a gift for the holidays. And be sure to share with us your experiences if you've made one before, or if you're planning on making one, if you have any questions. Again, just a quick kind of live stream. So if you have any questions about the different lengths, getting them tied, anything like that, we can try to do some closer videos for you all on how to do that. But we hope you all have a great evening. We thank you for joining us. Thanks to a few folks who joined us in chat here and said hi. And as always, until our next video or live stream, we hope you'll take care until then, everybody.